my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
They're here.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's showtime.
Right, welcome everybody to another episode of the VHS Strikes Back. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Phelps, and my co-host and very good friend is Mr. Dave Horrocks.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to the VHS Strikes Back, the show where we dust off the old video player and go on a nostalgic journey to look at the good and the great, Chris, and bad movies of yesteryear. Now, Chris, this week was my choice. What are we going to review this week, Chris?
We're reviewing, and there is a huff there, Dave. We are reviewing the 1975 musical rock movie, I'm going to use that term loosely, of Rocky Horror Show, which is a film I have never seen, Dave. And yeah, what about yourself? So I've never seen it, so obviously you must have seen this.
Well, actually, I haven't. And so all I can tell you about, I do remember being back at the old school disco. I remember the first time I heard the Time Warp, and it seemed like everyone who was there at the school disco was they knew all the moves. It's just a jump to the left, and I'm trying to do it, and I've got no idea. I'm like, I've never heard this song before, but I always think back to that. You're trying to be with the cool kids and sort of blend in and failing like in-betweeners style. But so that's the only thing I can recall. The reason I've made it my choice, Chris, so it was suggested to me by a friend, and it's one of her favourite movies. And I thought, you know what? The idea of making Chris sit down and watch this and have him watch Tim Curry prance around in suspenders, singing away musical style, it just had me crying, Chris.
And I was crying for other fucking reasons. Now, let me set a bit of tone, Dave. I'm not adverse to a musical on that. Even though I love all these big action, macho films, and, I've always been to the gym, I'm into all that sort of stuff. I genuinely, it never bothered me watching stuff. Like, I grew up, I remember, Dave, taking days off at school, faking illnesses to go home and watch Singing in the Rain with my mum when I was 9-10 years old. Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor and I've grew up with my grandparents, even stuff like the Al Jolson story. It's not one of the best one. My nanny used to watch it, Mammy, and all that stuff. But Singing in the Rain, there's all sorts of musicals, Wizard of Oz, so I'm not completely adverse to watching something like this. And genuinely, I must admit, when the Time Warp bit was on in the movie, yeah, I can buy into that. That's about the only thing that I can say positive, to be honest. However, I've just avoided it not because of Tim Curry and suspense. It never interested me as a movie. It was not so. I think if my dad had probably watched it and we'd ended up watching it, then I probably would have seen it a couple of times because my dad's into his music. And yeah, just this. I remember Richard O'Brien with the Crystal Maze. You see, I always remember him being involved with this, writing it and everything. So that's why I knew of it and seen it in the video shot. But we never, ever, ever rented this out, Dave.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching it, and obviously I didn't really know anything about it other than the Time Warp song, but I had no idea what it was all about, and so everything was a surprise to me. But like I say, that from that initial. And we had a bit of a back and forth, didn't we? Because you were convinced, no, it's my turn this week. And we traced it back. It's like, oh, fuck, it's yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just went from crying about it. But then as it's playing through, I'm kind of like, what the fuck is this? Oh, no, but Chris is watching this as well. Brilliant. Just absolutely tears streaming down my face.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Don't you worry, Dave. I'm having a think for next week. You're not going to sidestep me with a review. I'm definitely thinking of some shit for next week.
Yeah, you've got more. You know how your iPhone sort of tells you your weekly allowance or weekly usage or something? It does on mine anyway. I think it's every Monday it flashes up.
Mine does,
I think I think I've had more than my ample quota of abuse from you this week. Already. We haven't even started recording yet, but oh mate, I cannot wait to hear what you think about this.
Right, let's get into the trailer then, Dave.
Let's go.
You've seen all kinds of movies, but you've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show is wonderfully weird.
I'm your new commander. You now are my prisoner.
They're probably foreigners with ways different than our own.
It's fabulously freaky. It's a trip to transsexual Transylvania. The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Transsexual Transylvania.
The story is strange.
For tonight is the night that my beautiful creature is destined to be born.
The songs are super.
Science fiction.
The scenery is smashing. The cast is completely crazy.
This isn't the Junior Chamber of Commerce, Brad.
There's a mad scientist named Frank-N-Furter.
Come up to the lair and see what's on the slab.
And Rocky, his incredible creature.
I knew he was in with a bad crowd, but it was worse than I imagined.
A sinister servant named Riffraff.
I remember doing the time warp.
And Brad and Janet.
My name's Brad Majors.
Just a couple of clean-cut kids.
This is my fiancée, Janet Weiss.
Touch it, touch it, touch it, touch me. I wanna be dirty.
Eddie. Magenta.
When shall we report to Transylvania, huh?
Columbia. Dr. Scott.
Great Scott!
So give yourself over to absolute pleasure. See the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Let's do the time warp again.
Now we start off, we have a criminologist. He's telling us all about this newly engaged and innocent couple. We've got Brad Majors and Janet Weiss, who find themselves lost and on a rainy night, and then end up, they're after a telephone, but end up going to this creepy ass castle. Now, Chris, what did you make to the opening of this one?
Well, like I said, I've never seen it. This was actually filmed around 73, and I did go down the rabbit hole of researching a lot to do with this, because what they did was they used a lot of the actors that were on the theatre scene who'd actually been in the Rocky Horror production and like the West End and stuff, Dave, and obviously you end up on Broadway and that. So a lot of the costumes, a lot of the actors, actresses were from that. They knew all the songs, you know, the position and stuff. Quite interesting. I did notice Tim Curry was the priest when they came out of the church at the start before he proposed to her. And he was stood there. I don't know if you noticed that, Dave. He was like in the middle of, he was stood in a proper priest's outfit. He was like taller than everyone else. Then for some weird reason, he turned his back and was facing the door for ages just before that guy, Brad, proposed to Janet. I don't actually know what to say because I think I'm trying to think of something positive because I just really want to absolutely.
Well, why don't you have your thoughts? Why don't I say? Because I think when this film first come out, you know, it didn't get the greatest of reception straight away, but it just gained this massive cult following. And, you know, you had people turning up all dressed up and that at the cinema and dancing away in the aisles and stuff. It was a budget, Chris, of $1.4 million. 1.4. And it made a box office of 140 million.
That's unbelievable. I read as well, Dave, that it became the first ever official midnight movie, And to this day, even when Disney bought out Fox and that, they still allow it to run. And it's still now, it's the longest running movie in history in the cinema because it gets played literally from time to time. It's classed as the original midnight movie where people used to come in pissed up and that.
Oh, nice. See, there you go. That's positive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only positive I got, Dave, because I had to research it to think, what am I watching here? But yeah, to be fair, I found that absolutely fascinating. And I think, like you said, the reviews weren't received very well, but it just gained more and more. I mean, how many times have you seen people dressed up as Tim Curry, Dave, at Halloween parties and stuff like that? I remember my dad doing it years ago. I did the same thing, and he was a cross between Tim Curry and Richard O'Brien. He had like a top hat on and stuff, but everyone knew who his character was for the fancy dress. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's synonymous with it. I wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not bloody like anyone, not homophobic or anything. It was nothing to do with any of that. But I must say, there's a lot of groundbreaking stuff in this, especially with Tim Curry and Brad. There's stuff there that you didn't really see on the screen, Dave, at like the mid-70s, you know, when he sort of seduces both the couples, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it did have me chuckling, but I think as well, that was a moment when I thought, yeah, Chris is going to be fucking cursing me while he's watching this. When, you know, Brad doesn't seem to take that much convincing to, you know, have a little bit happy time there.
No, not at all. I must admit, trying to follow the story, there isn't one, pretty much. It goes from, it does feel a little bit like a fake production, the way it goes from scene to scene. There's no real transitions, is there?
Yeah, and it was, wasn't it? I think it was based on stage first.
Okay, yeah.
And so,
but it wasn't a movie, as in sorry, Dave. I didn't feel like I was watching a movie, if that makes sense. It felt like I was just watching a set piece, like they're having the theatre where you go and watch something of a musical and they quickly change the background.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's how it felt. There wasn't really any storyline, to be honest.
I don't know about that. I mean, apparently some of the inspiration for this came from the old B movies, you know, and I think that probably explains the second part of it more so than the first part. You know, for the first part, you're just thrown into this mad old world, aren't you? You know, where we meet, I keep calling him Tim Curry, but his character's name is Dr. Frank-N-Furter, who is the sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. And, you know, you can see from Brad and Janet's point of view, it's like, what the fuck is going on? And one thing, you know, they bring to life Rocky, you know, who I have to say, Chris, for 1975, I mean, he was fucking ripped, wasn't he?
Yeah, and you know what, Dave? I went on a bit of a rabbit hole looking at the guy who played Rocky, Peter Hinwood. He's actually a antiques dealer now, but if you put his name in and Rocky, Dave, literally one of the first pictures is him lay there with his fucking cock out. Let's be honest, Dave. He's obviously done some sort of Playgirl thing. I was like, oh dear, because it wasn't the best.
Oh, it just gets better.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'll tell you what, though,
Hopefully
Dave,
it wasn't.
He should be happy with himself looking at the picture. But he was literally ahead of his time, because I thought the same. He obviously was a bodybuilder of some sort. I mean, and I'm not being a bitch here, because he had a miles better body than I've ever had. But he didn't really do leg day back in the 70s, and he wasn't exactly thinking. But his body was phenomenal. You look at the actual modelling that he did and stuff like that, unbelievable. He was everywhere after this, Dave. And I did think the same. I thought, wow, he's absolutely shredded within an inch of his life. He looked really good, to be fair.
Yeah, and what do you reckon? 4% body fat. I mean, he's almost like Bruce Lee sort of levels of body fat, isn't he? Just I was quite surprised. Yeah, but I mean, he's obviously brought to life for a bit of a plaything for Dr. Frank-N-Furter.
Yeah, and again, I think because it felt like I was watching a musical, it just, I don't know, I can't describe it. I mean, a lot of the set for the mansion, Dave, the reason you said about B movies, it was all set at the Hammer House of Horrors. That's where they filmed all their movies.
Yeah.
That's where they did this. And a lot of even when Rocky was in the casket thing, in the water thing, when he's bringing him to life, that was actually used in Frankenstein. That was that whole prop was Frankenstein. So I like I say, I've really read up on it, but it was all homages to the original Hammer House of Horrors from Richard O'Brien, you see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really good. I really, really did think
You're
it was.
surprising
It
me
was
here.
good.
You sound more positive. I'm gutted now. I was waiting for both barrels.
No, no, Dave. There's all sorts wrong with it as a movie, but just I find it. I find what Richard O'Brien did admirable because he was a nobody. He'd been in a couple of theatre things, and from nowhere, one summer, he just produced this play
Yeah,
that just got moved. So I think I feel a bit like when we did on Comics in Motion, the Fantastic Four, with these a Fantastic Four movie on YouTube, which we laughed our heads about. It had $1 million budget, and it's truly awful. However, and it's an awful bit. When you read up on what happened with the cast, you feel so sorry for what I did. And we both watched the Prime documentary because it's on
yeah.
Prime about Fantastic Four. And I think that's where I'm coming from. It's an awful film. It's not anything that I would ever watch again. I just think it's terrible. However, for having the time warp and the respect of Richard O'Brien, it's got a charm to it that I genuinely didn't think I'd be fucking saying. I had no intention of saying this 20 minutes ago, Dave. But I think as that sort of digest it and we talk about it, there is a respect there for what they did with this.
And I think what you said before is absolutely right. I mean, I can't think of anything that we've seen that even comes close to this in terms of just, I guess, challenging that. It's the mid-70s, isn't it? So that just
Yeah.
very heterosexual culture. I mean, look at Alan Turing. You know, what happened to him just a couple of decades
Yeah.
before? So, it is really, really interesting. And I can absolutely see why it is such an iconic movie. And like you say, as soon as the time warp comes on, I've been singing it ever since, to be honest. You just can't help it. But what did you make after we get Rocky created out of nothing? We then get Eddie coming up, don't we, for a slightly briefer cameo than I thought he was going to be in this, to be honest. So old Meatloaf doesn't
Meatloaf,
last
yeah.
very long, does he?
No, and it's funny because I didn't realize he was in it. Christopher Biggins is in it as well. He's one of the background guys as well. I
Ah,
didn't
right, is
realize
he? I didn't
that.
see
But
him.
yeah. To be honest, I didn't see him in the movie. I was looking at the cast after I watched it, and it come up, and I was like, I don't remember him in the movie. And then he must be sort of like an extra or something, but he's definitely in it. He does a lot of meetups actually when they have like a reunion thing, and that he's definitely milking that cow, Dave. But unless he is in it, and I've not noticed he has an active part, I'm not sure. But yeah, the Meatloaf one was just like bat out of hell, wasn't it? He come in, that was it, and then gets chased off, and the end.
Hack,
It was
well, he
literally
gets hacked to pieces and
hacked
brutally
to pieces.
murdered,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
yeah. And it's literally 2 minutes tops, isn't it?
Yeah.
He must be like a friend's thing. He must have been a friend of Richard O'Brien or something, because I didn't research why Meatloaf was in it, but it was, again, it's fucking rubbish. I'm not even going to pretend that I liked it. I fucking hated every minute of it. It's on for an hour and 40, and I just kept thinking, get to the halfway mark. And I did, and I watched it in one sitting yesterday morning. I got up early, and I'm sat there thinking, you know what? I'm going to watch some of the old wrestling, the WWE Network. Obviously, I'm doing a bit of a podcast with Scott at the moment, Art of a 20th Century Geek, so I've got a bit of research to do. I loved it. And then I sat there thinking, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to watch the Rocky Horror Show. And Sam wasn't up in Jordan. And I sat there thinking...
So you're trying to get through the Rocky Horror Picture Show so you can watch a bunch of oiled up wrestlers.
Yeah, but at least the story's a good, Dave. I can buy into that better than anything. And I'm reviewing SummerSlam 92, Dave, in Wembley. So we all remember that one when we were kids. So Davey Boy Smith and that, he won the title.
Very good. It
it
was.
I think it's Pink.
It was good when I was listening to your episode on wrestling, even though I didn't know 90% of what you were talking about. Because it's, I think the late 80s was when I was more into it. Was that WrestleMania 6? Was that around 89?
90.
Was it 90? Was it? So
yeah.
That was my peak wrestling watching. But no, I'll be tuning into that one on 20th Century Geek for sure. Now,
So, Dave, what did you think of it? Now, obviously, it was suggested to you to watch this, but what is your overriding opinion of the whole thing?
I think I actually need a bit, no pun intended, but I actually need a bit of time and space away from it. The reason is because I got so much enjoyment out of this, Chris, to truly throw you under the bus with it. I mean, when we watched Snake in the Monkey's Shadow, I genuinely did like that as a movie. You know, and I thought there was a chance you may like it. so I wasn't intentionally setting you up there, but this one kind of was. So there's an added enjoyment factor there, which I need to step away from it and go back to it and watch it again and figure out if that was just a novelty thing. But like I say, absolutely iconic. Can see it. The music's pretty good. Not just the time warp. I think a lot of the music throughout it is solid, and yeah. But I was kind of wondering as well when I think back to the school disco. How the fuck did all these other children watch this? Because
Yeah,
it's a
other
bit
than yeah.
racy, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's just one you follow your parents doing the dance moves because that we've done it many times at family dues, Dave. 100%. You know, you jump to the right. I might be wrong, but he probably was at my wedding. I would have thought as well. It's one of them.
First dance.
Yeah. It's one of them in my sussies. It's one of his generic. It's just a generic party song, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so I think you're right. I genuinely know. I don't think my dad's ever watched it. He was always the yardstick for us watching. My dad loves music. You know, he's got thousands of records, CDs. He got hundreds of concerts. That was like my dad's passion, music, and it still is to this day. Buying CDs even now every week, even though they're all digital. Like he just buys them. He likes the physical medium. So I was interested when I watched it, thinking, I know, and my dad fucking hates meatloaf, so he probably wouldn't have watched it for his meatloaf. But like Tim Curry, there was a movie years ago. I can't remember his bloody name. Tim Curry's in it, Dave, in the 80s, and we loved it as kids. Like we used to watch it all the time. He was a bit of a rogue in it and stuff, sort of traveling around, I think sort of like Blue Money or something I think it was called. So we loved that movie, but genuinely never interested anybody in our house this at all.
Yeah. I yeah, I can understand why I've not watched it as a kid, to be honest. And I didn't realize Susan Sarandon was in this, by the way. I thought,
No, I didn't.
yeah, she was again. All the actors and actresses, all of the acting is fully over the top, isn't it? I think as well as the stages and everything, the way it's all set up, I think that's what gives it that stage feel. You know, that it's all overacting. But yeah, when old Frank-N-Furter jumps in bed with her, which is what we were talking about earlier, wasn't it? I thought I wasn't quite sure if she was putting up a fight or just going along with it. I couldn't quite figure that bit out. Certainly, Brad was putting up a fight for about 10 seconds, but we got him the full on in his little commode.
Yeah.
It was clear what had happened there. He'd managed to corrupt them both. Now, this is where it kind of starts to take an unusual turn for me because we get he's Dr. Everett Scott rocking up in his Charles Xavier wheelchair there, a little blanket over his legs, and he's investigating UFOs for the government. And at this point, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, Chris, to be honest.
No,
but there's something in that, and we get them having dinner, don't we? And old Frank-N-Furter's being particularly strange. I tell you what, Chris, I'd never really noticed before, but I guess in all the gear, I thought Tim Curry just really looked like Freddie Mercury. I don't know if he was trying to model himself on him, but I kept thinking it was Freddie.
You know what, Dave? I forgot all about that. But when I was watching it, and when you watch the early Queen stuff, I kept thinking, is Freddie copying him or is he copying Freddie? Because I totally agree. I think the haircut, obviously, I know we've had Bohemian Rhapsody's been out the last couple. I love that movie. But when I've watched loads of the old Queen stuff and it's great to watch, but very, very similar. Other than Freddie not being in the sausages and that on stage, because I don't think he was out as sort of being gay then, was he, or bisexual? But the whole skit, one or the other was taking inspiration from one of them. Definitely. I totally agree. I just kept thinking it over and over again when I watched Tim Curry.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Maybe it's just a coincidence because I mean they recorded that Bohemian Rhapsody was recorded in '75, which is when this one came out. So I guess you would say, if anything, you would say it's probably Freddie copying off this movie or being influenced by this movie.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's probably a good point, actually, Dave. Maybe it is. Maybe he was friends with Richard O'Brien, and they're all in London, that circle, weren't they? So they probably knew of each other and that. You just don't know, do you? But yeah, I think that's a very good point because it was something that you can clearly see his outfits and his mannerisms are very similar.
Yeah. Now, after this dinner, which was incredibly uncomfortable watching, wasn't it? Where he's chopping up
Yeah.
the turkey and what have you, and then he whips the tablecloth off, and you see it's Eddie, who's the doctor's nephew, I think it was, and yeah, it all starts to go a little bit pear-shaped then, doesn't it? And meanwhile, old Janet has been getting a bit freaky with Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky and his tighty whities, Dave, are all over the place, aren't they?
I mean, what a fucking haircut, though.
Oh my god! Yeah, but Dave, having a body like that, you can get away with it.
Well,
can't
there
you?
is that, and apparently a schlong as well, from what you were saying earlier.
Look, I'm only going off what come on Google Images, Dave. There was no research at that point, but yeah.
I just hope it wasn't your work laptop. Does
No, it
Google
wasn't.
remember?
That's not been turned on for weeks, Dave. It's definitely not that. but no, I agree. It's very difficult to follow as a story. Whether if you saw it on the stage, it'd make more sense. I don't know, but I found it really hard work, and I didn't mess about. I wasn't really distracted or anything. It was a couple of times I blinked my phone on, but I was more, as I'm watching it, doing a bit of research, and then at the end, really researched it, which I think is why I had a little bit of respect for it afterwards. But as a story, as a one shot sitting there and watching it as a spectacle, I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. I agree with them. Flat tire, come to see him, he manipulates them fine. But then when it took this sinister thing, because Richard O'Brien's character just completely turns, doesn't he? You know,
Yeah.
it's very, very strange. Riff-raff, isn't he? The handyman. And
Yeah.
he's got that girl with him, Magneta,
Sister.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. And when they end up in that theatre and that, I was just like, how has it got? Because they all turned, don't they,
Well,
on Tim Curry? in the
even
end,
before,
Frankfurt.
even before the theatre, though, he ends up turning them into like naked statues.
Yeah.
And then when he defrosts them or basically turns them back, then they have a massive orgy in the pool. It's like, yep, no idea what's going on here.
No, yeah, it's very difficult to follow. I found it difficult anyway. Whether you've got to be really, really invested in it, I'm not sure, but I just found it was just, like I say, it was just set piece after set piece. That really, it was almost like, I'd say, watching short stories where somewhere along the line they knit together. It was, if that makes sense. Each bit didn't really further the story. It just seemed to all come together. It sounds really weird, I know, but
Yeah, and I mean, what took me out a little bit when it becomes obvious that this is to do with aliens. It's obviously a play on words, isn't it? That he's a transsexual from the galaxy of Transylvania. I don't know. It's actually a place, Transylvania, and they've just used a place name with trans at the start. Obviously, that's the whole deal. But
yeah.
the fact that it is actually a place was just taking me out of it. It was like, well, just use trans anything else. The fact that they kept using Transylvania did take me out of it a bit, and I thought, well, it's obviously synonymous with vampires and all that sort of stuff, isn't it? And I wish they'd have made a slightly different choice there.
Yeah, I think what was interesting, I agree. I think what was interesting as well is you've got the narrator, aren't you, talking all the way through, and that's how I think it took it away from me slightly as a film, and that's why I felt it did just feel like it was in the theatre. He did a good job because he was very Hammer House of Horrors, one of the way
Yeah.
he approached it and that. But even so, I don't necessarily think, for me, whether I bought into it, I just, like I say, it's just not for me, this at all. It's fucking shit, to be honest. It's completely shit. But
Well, he's trying to put together the whole case, isn't he? Because ultimately, you've got this young couple who go missing.
Yes.
And so that's his role, is trying to piece together that and the whole story. But I mean, I could only sort of come back to, the time warp, and finally putting a face to the person who goes, it's just a jump to the left.
Yeah.
And then that sets me off singing it for the next half hour again. So, yeah. But older, yeah, they do have a bit of a coup, don't they? And so they turn on old Frank-N-Furter, and we get kind of a, I don't know, it's like a weird sort of King Kong thing going on up the
Yeah.
stage there, wasn't it? And I was a bit confused because he's sort of shooting him with the laser. It's obviously not working on him, and so he carries on trying to rescue his creator, but then he falls into the pool, and that's the thing that finally kills him off. So like, what just happened there?
Yeah, like I say, it's strange, isn't it? Because as a spectacle, I think some of the cinematography is pretty good. Like you said, the budget's not great, but what they do with it is quite clever, and the colours and stuff are really poppy, even for being like mid-70s. Yeah, I mean, Rocky obviously gets annoyed, doesn't he? And they're firing at Rocky, who seems impervious to these laser shots, even though they're actually shooting Tim Curry, who's already dead. And he ends up going up the ladders, and you can clearly see he's struggling to get him up them ladders, Dave. It's yeah.
So
I don't know what to say, Dave. I'm lost for fucking words.
So, shall we get into our final review?
Let's go.
Hi, I'm Mike from the Genuine Chit Chat podcast, where we have honest conversations with interesting people. I speak to a wide variety of guests, including CEOs of businesses, psychologists, authors, musicians, travellers, people suffering with physical and mental illnesses, and everyone in between. Where we speak about a large variety of topics, including music and movies and pop culture, but also some more controversial topics, including drug reform, political correctness, and many more. No subject is off limits. You can find us on all the usual podcast places, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, as well as on YouTube, and you can follow us in all the usual social media places. And to be clear, I don't expect everyone listening to enjoy every episode of my show. What I do think is that due to the wide variety of guests and topics, that there'll be at least one episode that each person listening will enjoy. So if you still appreciate the art of conversation and want to hear honest conversations with interesting people, then be sure to check out Genuine Chit Chat in all the usual places.
Now, Chris, I'll go first this week because I think I know where yours is going. Well, actually, no, I think I probably I know where it's going. So, again, like yourself, never watched this. It's another one that what I love about doing the VHS, Chris, is not only the things, reviewing the movies that mean a lot to us and our childhoods and stuff. It's watching movies like this that are absolutely iconic that I know are out there and I've just never actually watched before. So I'm glad I've watched it. I did spend most of it sort of scratching my head thinking, I have no idea what's going on. But yeah, I can absolutely see why it was so important and such an iconic movie, and kind of broke the mold on everything that had gone before, and has had some influence on what's come since. And just like say, just challenging that, certainly that macho and heterosexual kind of template for movies, in and around that time and what came before. Now, it's not one that I'm going to be in a rush to watch again. I think I will watch it at some point, and I will probably understand a little bit more about what's going on. You've got to kind of watch it for a bit of the music as well. Like say, Time Warp is the obvious one that stands out, but I think a lot of the music was solid there. I think for me personally, I'm going to put it middle of the road. I'm going to put it Hill Valley, but I'm going to bump it up another point just because of the personal enjoyment I got from using this podcast to make you to watch this movie. So, Chris, this is a pleasant bill from me.
You fucking prick. Anyway, so yeah, like I say, never seen it, never have any intention of ever watching it ever again. I found the research in it fascinating. I really, really did. I think for Richard O'Brien, Dave, if I was just scoring it off what he'd done to create this whole thing and to create this phenomenon, really, because I'm sure that the royalties he gets now have set him up forever. It's no wonder he doesn't do the Crystal Maze anymore. However, not for me. I couldn't follow the story. It was too much like a theatre production, which obviously what it was based on. I think they did a great job with the budget. I just, the Time Warp, great idea, great song. It's 40 odd years later. It's still 50 odd years nearly. It's going strong at family dues and that. But I just found it utterly shit, and I was absolutely watching my clock completely. I think Tim Curry's really, really good in it. Susan Sarandon, not bad. The other guy, Brad, he's absolutely terrible. Barry Bostwick, he's awful, who plays a husband-to-be, Brad. Yeah, just shit. So, but Dave, you're going to be surprised by this. I'm not sending it to Dan Sweeney. I'm going to send it to Elm Street for the simple fact that they gain a point off me for the respects what Richard O'Brien did and the fact that it gained the Time Warp. So I'm going Elm Street.
Very good. Very good. Now, Chris, where can everyone get in contact with us?
Well, Dave, everybody can get us at the following social media things in a sec, which I'm going to tell you all about. But I am going to tell you all, be prepared for next week, because my good friend Lauren Avedon could be coming back into the podcast, because Mr. Horrocks, I am going to stitch you right up next week, my friend. Don't you worry about it.
Really?
No.
Go on. Well, can you share with the listeners what this is? And me, obviously.
I've not decided yet, Dave. I haven't decided. But I am going to be furiously checking the internet after we've recorded today to see what...
For the lowest rating, you? I can already tell you what it is. It's King of the Kickboxers 2.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely dire movie, actually. It might be, Dave. It might be something else. We've had Jim Carter, which was an absolute mess of a movie. But no, what I would say is I love this podcast as well for the fact that with the comics one, you've pretty much 90% of the time supplied the movies you review because it's all comic based, and that's fine. That was the whole pretense of the show. This one, however, my friend, it's 50-50. So you can have your time in the sunset this week, David, but I'm telling you now, you better be ready for next week.
I can't wait.
The thing is, this podcast, that wasn't even the idea of it, was it? So I'll do each other, but
no, it's just sort of evolved that way, hasn't it? We've got it's 50-50, say, but it's more like a third, isn't it? Because we take a suggestion from the listeners, so who also clearly try and stitch us up with shit.
Yeah, Glyn. No, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But no, anyway, if you have got any suggestions, guys, so I'm going to suggest a film for next week. So we need a suggestion for in 2 episodes' time. So anybody listening wants to suggest us something to review, don't matter what it is, as long as it's from the VHS era, myself and Dave will get on it. So it's at VHS Strikes Back on Twitter or the VHS Strikes Back at gmail.com. And as always, please, if you get time, drop us a review on your podcast catching up. So, Dave, thank you for this week. As much as we have a go at each other, and that it's all done as fun jokes between us. I love it because when you stitch me up, I know that I can come back with something else. So, I have enjoyed it because I knew full well, knowing your character, and you do it with me. I know when I've pissed you off, and you're watching it going, and I'm doing the same, sat there going, what a wanker Dave is. But when we come to record it, I love it. I absolutely love it when we get together recording it. So no, it was a good watch, mate, and a good laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure. I am going to go off and I'm going to do the Time Warp again.
I won't be, Dave, so I'll see you next week.
Bye now.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
I'll be back. That's odd.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Wax on, wax off. One ring to go. All right. Ding, ding. Bust you up. Go for it.
Well, here we go.
Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Come on. Come on, ain't so bad. Ain't nothing. Come on.
You must be crazy or something. I'm crazy? You just a stupid fool.
Yeah, maybe
you
stupid,
crazy,
but I ain't breathing heavy.
He's a fool, he's stupid.
I seen you at 6 o'clock.